Hello everyone, I'm Aaron Last with eXp Realty, Christine and Company, and today we're going to be going over something a little bit different. I'm going to talk to you about my experience looking at daycares for young children in and around the Bothell, Kirkland, Woodinville area. So back in October I had my first kid, and my wife and I went through the process of going through a search of all different daycares, asking them different questions. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to share what I learned through this process and try to help out, future people that are trying to find the best daycare for their kid. Now, I guess I should start up front by saying, I was searching for daycares for newborn and infants. We knew when our kid was going to reach 3 months old, we were going to be starting him in daycare. You might be, looking at, daycares for older children. And we were also only looking at kind of the big box, big companies for daycare centers. We weren't looking at like stay-at-home nannies or nanny shares. I'm not going to be going over that as part of this video. And I'll get into reasons why a little bit later, but it was for us to look at the kind of the bigger companies. So first I'm going to go over kind of just the different steps you go through. The first is you're going to want to do kind of just an online search of different daycares, and this is going to depend heavily on obviously where you live, and then also what your commute is if you have a commute for your work location. And then you're gonna, consider which companies, which daycares do you want to learn more about. And we're gonna go over different things like, do you want to focus on daycares that can offer you a discount based on your employer, and also we're gonna go over what other factors that might help make your decision in terms of like price point and what the different companies have to offer. And I recommend then deciding on contacting at least 5 of these daycares to schedule a tour. When we did our tour, we had to do them all online because of COVID. In the future that might open up, but typically the process is when you go on a tour, you physically go to the daycare and take a look for yourself. And the tour process online is usually through Zoom or something like that, and the manager will be there and they'll be able to kind of using their cell phone walk you through the different parts of the daycare, different parts of the the playground or wherever. You don't usually get to see the kids. They usually have you tour rooms that are not being used. And then after the tour, the next step is decide which ones you want to register with. And when you register, you are paying a small fee, maybe like $150 and maybe more. But that registration fee holds your reservation, holds the spot for your child. And then later you can make your decision, or if you only want to register and reserve with one, you've made your decision. So the next thing I'll talk about is like when you should start this process. It's never too early. In my case, my wife did a lot of this work for a lot of the research. So I'd like to thank her for kind of putting all these interviews and tours together. But we started actually 9 months before we needed care. We started before our son was even born. And so I would recommend, starting, at least 3 months before, because depending on which daycare center you choose, some of them are very, not really competitive, but they're in very high demand and they sell out. The spots can sell out really quickly. So the sooner you get started, the better. So personally for us, we looked at 6 different sites. So You can see some of the brands here that we looked at. One of the big ones are Bright Horizons and KinderCare. So we live in Bothell, and as a real estate agent, right now I'm working from home, and my wife works in Kirkland. So we were looking at Bright Horizons in Kirkland. There's actually two that are really close together. There's a Bright Horizons in Woodinville. And then we looked at the KinderCare in Bothell. We looked at the Goddard School of Bothell and the Kid Academy of Kenmore. And there were some other ones that we were looking into. There was two additional daycares that didn't allow visitors. I should say none of the daycares really allowed visitors at the time. But there were two additional daycares that didn't respond to like multiple emails trying to get a tour. So we never looked at those. There was another daycare not on this list that had, for some reason, they wanted to give us a 3-month wait before going on a virtual tour. And we weren't going to do that. We needed to make our decision. We couldn't wait 3 months. Not knowing if we were going to even use that daycare. So we had to pass on that one. So we looked at a couple. And next I'm going to go over, different things that, we considered. So, these are like possible, questions you can have for them when you do the tour, or you can find out online. But we wanted to know, what their education program looked like, what was their, education philosophy, what was their teaching philosophy, caring for the kids, what was their philosophy on like food and discipline and things like that. Talked about it already. You want to consider, where is it located? Do you want a location really close to your home? Do you just want a location that's close to your home, but then also on the route to work? Or did you just want it close to work? And a lot of that can depend on the distance from your home to your work location. It can also, another thing to factor in is, is it easy to get in and out of that location? The Puget Sound area has a lot of traffic, so traffic is one of the things you'll want to consider. You want to look at, how you feel about, the play areas. Do they have like good play areas? Are they covered? We have a lot of days of rain here in Bothell and the Puget Sound, so I kind of wanted to ask them what their philosophy was on going outside in the rain. Like, do they still go outside even if it's raining? Is the play area, good for rain? There's some that had play areas that had like artificial turf that had, good, really good drainage. So there's that to consider. And then there's obviously what's going to be the biggest factor for us and for a lot of people is what are the tuition rates. So the only way you're going to get the tuition rates is by doing the tour and then just asking them. And tuition goes up. It goes up every year. Every year they're going to raise their rates. In 2022 here, we're probably going to get a pretty big raise in tuition rates with the cost of labor increasing. But one thing to consider is the tuition rate is based on the teacher to child ratio. So for newborn infants, I think the ratio is like one teacher has 4 children, so that's the most expensive. And then as they get to like the toddler age, after 1 year, they'll transition to maybe I can't remember what it was, 1 teacher per 7 kids. And so because it's a higher ratio, the tuition actually goes down. So further down the line, tuition does get cheaper, even though the rates are increasing slightly. Your tuition rates will go down over time. So you can ask about that. Ask about if they have discounts for a second child, because a lot of them do. I was, very not concerned, but I wanted to know, when does the center open every morning? There are some that open, I think a lot of them opened at 7. I think almost all of them opened at 7. There was a lot that used to open at 6 a.m. before COVID started. And now with with labor shortages, they've cut that to opening later, opening at 7 a.m. And I think the Bright Horizons in Everett even opens up at maybe 5 or 5:30, because they have a lot of factory workers that start their shift early. So for us, being able to have an early drop off if we needed it, that was important to us. Typically, these daycares have online chef. So, what types of food do they serve? Like, do you need to provide food? Sometimes they don't. If they don't have a chef, that's going to be a pretty big deal for you. You're going to have to make their lunch every day. But most of them have like an on-site chef. And then with the registration fee, like Bright Horizons will have, if you choose to go that route and look at multiple ones, they'll have one registration process, one fee, and then you just tell them which locations you prefer, and then at that point, they will tell you about if you get a reservation with that site. Bright Horizons is it's the most popular and the most highest demand daycare right now in this area. So additional questions to consider. Talked a little bit about this. So how many babies per caregiver, how many children. I think the state minimum for 0 to 1 years old is 4 babies per caregiver, and I think Bright Horizons actually has their own minimum of 3. And at the time of the interviews, their Bright Horizons minimums were better than what the state required, so each kid will get more attention potentially than other sites that stuck with the state minimums. Another thing to consider, the employer discount. So the discount is for the company that you work for. So if you work for Boeing, they have discounts for certain daycares. If you work at Google, they have discounts. But you won't really know unless you can ask your employer, or during the tour you can tell them, my wife works for this company, I work for this company. Do you offer a discount? Because for a lot of the big companies, they do. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later. You want to ask them, what does the tuition cover? So, does it cover the food? Are there additional fees that you're not aware of? Are there, does it cover taxes? Does it cover additional activities? So if they have, an activity, they go on a field trip, or they have supplemental activities, you have the option to play a sport on site. Do they have, extra fees for those? For us, we wanted to know, if do the parents have a say on the input in the education? So, trying to think of a good example of that, but there were some daycares that would allow you to, and then some that would not. So you'd say, oh, we're this week we're working with our child a lot with different colors. So can you help them with help them work on colors, or we're helping them do some other activity, some other learning, counting or something. What can you focus on that? And some of them, they let you kind of customize what they're working on for that given week. And some daycares said no, we need to stick with our curriculum. I wanted to know about kind of what holidays were, is the daycare closed? And then there are what holidays is each daycare closed? This was kind of important to me because I kind of wanted to get a feel for, does the center take a lot of holidays, and were there any holidays that didn't match with my wife's employer? And so I mean that that's not as important. A lot of them were kind of the same. They didn't take that many days off. So that kind of goes to why we were only looking at these like big companies. These daycare centers like Bright Horizons, KinderCare, they have relatively large staff. They have like a number of workers. So they're open a lot of days, and they have they have kind of the guarantee that they're going to be there. If we chose like a little mom and pop daycare center where it's run out of someone's house, like that person, like what happens when they want to go on vacation? How long are they gone? Are they gone for a week or 2 weeks? What happens if they get sick? What happens if the manager that runs it out of their home, what happens if they get COVID and they need to shut down the center for 2 weeks? What if they have their assistant or other coworkers? What if they get sick and the center closes down? So I'm not saying that will never happen with one of the bigger companies, but for us, it just felt like it was more reliable in that respect. So they are open. There's only like a few handful of holidays that they're closed, which we liked. You can ask all of them, what is their COVID sick policy for children? What is their policy for the staff as well? Like, does your child, can your child go in if they have just like the common cold symptoms? I think prior to COVID, we weren't, my wife and I were not shopping for daycares, but I think prior to COVID, like parents would just send their kids to their daycare if they had like sick common cold symptoms, but they didn't have like a fever, weren't vomiting or anything. I don't know what it was like before COVID, but that'll be something that you'll want to ask and make sure you know the rules. And then you can also ask and just be frank about it, like for the manager, like what is your experience in childcare? And if you're going in the infant or toddler, say okay, we're going to bring our toddler in. What's the experience level of your current caregiver for your toddler? It's perfectly reasonable to ask that, and we were happy we got like specific answers with that. So yeah, I'm gonna go through just kind of a little bit about each brand and what we found out. This information may change, so I would definitely check check everything for yourself. But the first one is Bright Horizons. I told you, we were looking at Kirkland, because my wife works in Kirkland, and they actually have 2 locations, and they're right next to each other. It's weird. They're within like a block of each other, and we actually interviewed both of them because we kind of knew going ahead like how much demand there was for these centers. So if we chose this one, this location, this Kirkland location, we would actually have 2 that we'd be able to get into. Bright Horizons is definitely, it was the most expensive that we saw. you know, by far. I think some people might be actually shocked how expensive it is. Um, one thing is that they have Bright Horizons. They have them all over. They have a Bothell one, a Woodinville one. They got two in Kirkland. They have one in all the way up in Everett. And so as you get out of these expensive areas, kind of like real estate, as the real estate goes down, so does the tuition rate. So the Everett was the cheapest for Bright Horizons. They are the NIAC accredited, NAEYC, so that's a national accreditation for childcare companies. And like I said, they have it seemed like they had a large staff to cover everything. They had the lowest lowest child to teacher ratios, which you like to see. And they offered a Boeing discount of 10%. So if you work at Boeing, you can take advantage of their discount. And then they also have, and a lot of daycares are converting over to this. They have their own app. So I haven't gone in and they don't let you go in and try all the apps, but you can ask questions about it. So they can, for Bright Horizons, they'll offer I don't know how they do it, how they have time to watch the kids and do the reports, but they claim that the caregiver can give kind of type in like daily reports on what's going on with your child. Next one, I think everyone's kind of heard of KinderCare. You kind of seen them all over growing up. They're all over the U.S. I went to KinderCare growing up. I think I turned out okay. I think this is the what I consider the most affordable. They are also NIAC accredited. They did have a Google discount of 10% as well. I guess I should go back and talk about Bright Horizons, because I remember Google employees did have a discount, but it was only a discount on the small registration fee. I think they waived the registration fee, although they did claim that I think the Google, one of the Google Kirkland sites is like right around here, and maybe that's why they have their partnership with them. But Bright Horizons said that Google employees that went through the tour, registered, picked a location, would have top priority when the reservations were made. Whatever that means. I don't know how valid that is, or if that'll even be around for much longer. But that's what they claimed. So there's going to be other companies. These are just ones that I've heard of that have the discount. KinderCare also has like a similar app where they have like daily reports. And one of the things we liked about the KinderCare Bothell location was that it opens at 6 a.m. And like this one, I think, and a lot of them did this, with COVID, I think they have like a drop-off process. You'll have to find out when you do the tour, but I think they have you have to buzz in every time, and then just leave your child in the entryway. They don't want you going all the way into the specific child care room that they're in at the time. And I'm under the assumption that when they get back to normal, they'll have like a more normal process where parents can go into the center when they're dropping off and picking up. We looked at the Goddard School of Bothell. This site actually was the most affordable in terms of like monthly tuition. But I'll add the caveat that they don't have a chef. This location did not have a chef. They had they had a process where I think staff or the teachers themselves would like make a snack or something, but the parents were responsible for bringing their lunch every day. So if you know if you're on board, with that, if you want to have like a strict diet and you don't have to, this could be really good. You don't have to worry about what the school or daycare is providing for your child that day. Although if you're at KinderCare or Bright Horizons, you can find out what they're giving them. But so they have the most affordable rates, and I'm pretty sure it's because they don't have a chef. This school was not NIAC accredited, but they are Cognia P21 accredited. There's a lot of different national accreditations, so different schools will kind of choose which accreditation they prefer. For now, Goddard School doesn't have an app, but they say that they will still provide daily reports in email or text. And I remember for this one, the manager owner was did a good job of really focusing on he's really focused on like child safety. He was talking about the special, I think it was a special doors that they have. So you had to press like a certain button to open the door, and they had like a special alarm system for child safety, and they had special doors between the classrooms, so you couldn't like pinch your small fingers on the doors. That was kind of interesting. And then they showed a graph of like their children's that went to the school, their children's test scores. So they showed us like here's the Goddard School test scores, and we are the best. And then here's like the average average test scores. I don't know what tests they were taking in national standardized tests for pre-kindergarten, but they were very focused on that. And this is one of the schools they didn't offer like any type of parental like input on the curriculum. So that was their philosophy. Like they just said, no, we have we have what we teach our children at what time, and it's cannot be changed. And they have a start time of 7. Okay. Oh yes, Kitty Academy. So I think there are a few Kitty Academies in the area, and we looked at this one. For us, Kitty Academy of Kenmore I think it was another one that was along the way, kind of right in between home and where my wife works. So, it was pretty close by. And this one was like a brand new location, which we kind of liked. So all of the everything in the building was new. Everything inside would potentially be relatively new, built to the latest safety standards, and they had an outdoor play area that was like brand new. It looked really nice, but because it was new, they had brought in. This is part of the process where we're asking them questions. Their staff had a little less experience because they were new. They didn't have anyone there that had worked at the site for 5 years because there wasn't any. The building didn't exist 5 years ago. But the manager there was seemed to be really knowledgeable. She was from Bright Horizons, and so her teaching philosophy with the Kitty Academy was that she was taking everything she saw that was really good from the way Bright Horizons teaches their kids, and like was going to improve on that teaching style. So I actually like that. I actually like that a lot. At least the confidence, if nothing else. They also They also have an app that can do daily reports on your children. Yeah. Oh, yeah. One thing we asked was they don't allow cloth diapers. So if you're doing anything besides disposable diapers, they would not allow. I think they were the only one that didn't allow cloth diapers. I think all the other ones were like, "Yep, no problem with cloth diapers. Just give us everything. Give us the plastic pins and the diapers themselves." Yep. So that kind of goes through a review of all of the ones we looked at, and so based on this, we kind of a lot of it came down to the tuition at the time, and then combined with all of these other factors, and if any of these were like deal breakers, and if there was any if there was any like red flags or issues we had with the tour, or something we didn't like, that was a consideration for us. But I think a lot of it just depends on going on the tours and picking one that's right for you. So that's kind of all I had on it today. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a quick text. I'll do my best to answer. But if you want information on the pricing, I think the pricing has probably changed since I went on my tour. So you got to contact each daycare center. And that's it for me. I am Aaron Lass with Christine and Company. Talk to you later.